Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you're floating roughly 250 miles above the Earth. Right below you is our gorgeous swirling blue planet. It looks incredibly peaceful, and home is right there. I mean, it literally feels so close you can almost reach out and touch it. But for NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, that journey home, it was anything but simple. Today, we're diving into an absolutely incredible true story of survival, engineering, and sheer human endurance. We're going to look at how what was supposed to be a super brief mission stretched into a staggering 286-day space odyssey. You see, the original game plan for this Boeing Starliner mission came down to a very simple number, 10. Just 10 days. The astronauts were scheduled to launch, dock with the International Space Station, spend a little over a week up there knocking out a few routine scientific experiments, and then head safely back to Earth. It was, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be a quick, textbook test mission, in and out.
But instead, they were gone for 286 days. That's nearly a full year in space. Just let that sink in for a minute. It's like packing your bags, both mentally and physically, for a week-and-a-half-long business trip, and you end up staying for 10 whole months. No way, right?
So you really have to wonder, how exactly did a 10-day mission turn into a 286-day odyssey? What actually happens when things don't go according to plan in literally the most unforgiving environment known to humanity? Well, let's break down the mechanics of what went wrong and, honestly, the incredible human resilience it took to survive the whole ordeal.
Our timeline kicks off on June 5th, 2024. Sunita Williams, an astronaut of Indian origin, and her commander, Butch Wilmore, successfully launched aboard Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. And this was a massive deal, a real milestone. It was Starliner's very first crewed test mission to the ISS. As they broke through the atmosphere, everything seemed totally flawless, perfectly according to plan. The launch was a total success. But as they were cruising toward the station, the narrative took a pretty sharp turn. While they were still in transit, engineers back on the ground started detecting several helium leaks inside the Starliner spacecraft. But believe it or not, that wasn't even the biggest issue. Multiple reaction control thrusters began malfunctioning. Now, why does that matter? Well, these thrusters are the small engines that are absolutely critical for steering and stabilizing the spacecraft. Think of it like trying to drive a car on an icy road with a broken steering wheel. Without those thrusters working flawlessly, aligning the capsule for a safe, fiery re-entry into Earth's atmosphere was incredibly dangerous. Starliner did manage to safely dock with the ISS, but getting back down, that suddenly became a massive unknown.
For months, engineers worked around the clock. I mean, day and night. They ran countless tests, complex simulations, just desperately trying to find a fix. But days turned into weeks, and weeks bled into months. Eventually, NASA had to make a tough but absolutely necessary call. The Starliner spacecraft would return to Earth completely empty. Safety just had to come first. They simply weren't going to risk the astronauts' lives on a faulty ship.
And what that meant was Sunita and Butch were now officially extended residents of the ISS. And let me tell you, life in space moves fast. Because the station is whipping around the Earth every 90 minutes, astronauts witness 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every single day. Can you imagine? Your entire concept of time and your daily rhythm gets completely thrown out the window.
Now, people often think being stuck in space means you're frantically running out of air or food. Thankfully, regular cargo missions kept them well supplied. But let's be clear, it is definitely not a luxury hotel up there. There are no hot showers, you clean up with wet towels and rinse-free soap. When it's finally time for bed, you're not crashing on a cozy mattress. Nope, you zip yourself into a sleeping bag that is securely attached to the wall. So you don't literally float away while you're dreaming. And the food? It's mostly specially packaged stuff. Chicken, pasta, soup, tortillas. A piece of actual fresh fruit up there is a rare, highly coveted luxury.
As you might expect, as the months dragged on, this extended stay really caught the public's attention and sparked quite a bit of debate back down on Earth. We saw some differing perspectives pop up. Elon Musk publicly stated that SpaceX had offered to step in and bring the astronauts home earlier. NASA, on the other hand, responded by maintaining that all their decisions were dictated strictly by rigorous engineering analysis, meticulous mission planning, and their established astronaut safety protocols. But the main takeaway for us here is that, regardless of the public discourse or the different approaches, both sides ultimately shared the exact same priority, bringing Sunita and Butch home safely.
So, the path to that safe return was a long one. As we talked about, it started way back in June 2024. After months of those rigorous tests we just went over, the solution finally arrived in March 2025, when a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft reached the ISS. After a formal handover of their station duties to the new crew, Sunita and Butch strapped into the Crew Dragon.
Roughly 17 incredibly tense hours later, the capsule made a successful splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. 286 days later, a safe return. When those capsule doors were finally opened, Sunita Williams emerged with this massive, beaming smile on her face, giving a huge triumphant thumbs up to the cameras. It was just an incredibly powerful moment of relief and celebration for the entire world. It really proved that through patience, hard science, and a ton of teamwork, they'd overcome a truly monumental hurdle. But here's the thing. Landing in the ocean wasn't actually the end of their mission. It was really just the start of a brand new physical challenge. Living in microgravity for 10 months does a real number on the human body. Because you aren't fighting gravity every time you move, your muscles get significantly weaker. You experience actual bone density loss. Even your blood circulation changes. When astronauts get back to Earth, simply standing up and trying to walk normally is a grueling, exhausting task. They have to spend weeks going through intense medical exams, physical therapy, and rehab just to adapt back to Earth's gravity.
Which brings us to why this whole saga matters so much for all of us. Every single mission, especially the ones that go a bit sideways, teaches scientists something completely new. The biological data and the technical lessons learned from this unexpected 286-day stay are actively paving the way for our future in space. This knowledge is absolutely vital for making deeper missions to the Moon and eventually Mars much safer. And it directly informs the next era of global spaceflight, including really anticipated milestones like India's ISRO Gaganyaan mission, which is gearing up to send astronauts into space aboard an indigenous spacecraft soon.
Ultimately, space is an environment that is actively working against human survival. It's tough out there. To succeed, it demands absolute courage, boundless patience, relentless innovation, and uncompromising teamwork. Every single challenge faced by astronauts like Sunita and Butch brings humanity one step closer to the stars.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to ponder today. You know the details now. The cramped quarters, the endless diet of packaged food, the heavy physical toll on the body, and the sheer, wild unpredictability of the whole thing. Knowing all of that, would you spend 286 unexpected days in space for the advancement of humanity? It's a massive personal cost, but man, what an incredible legacy. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep looking up.